Okay, so you can't see the gray beam in this, and I cannot find an angle to get it to work. So right on the gray beam, I switched some things around. They'll do pivot turns each direction, so we're going beginner, intermediate, advanced. So they'll do pivot turns each direction, put their hands on their hips. We're not going to put their arms up yet, just because we need to worry about getting them comfortable turning. And then on the other side, they're going to do kicks forward with, we're going to put it up here this time, so the stick up above their head. That way they're tall and not bent over. On the gray beam for intermediate, they're going to do a 10-second releve hold, then pivot turn, and then hold 10 seconds on the other side before they can come down. Hands still on hips. And then the other side, they're going to lift in passe, but as they lift, their arms will also lift. So they'll start out in front, and as they go up, their arms will go up, and as they go down, their arms will go back down. So they need to coordinate both sides. Then for advanced, one side they'll do split jumps, and then the other side they'll do snap turns, and I want them to finish out of them now, or try to. They might not be very great, but at least try. On beam 6, we are going to, beam 4, my bad. I don't know why I call it beam 4, but it's actually beam 6, so don't mind me. On one side for a beginner, they're going to do spotted levers, working on correction, so arms up, arms squeezing your ears, a tall line from toes to hands, being in a straight line. You know, you can help them as much as you feel necessary to get them to do it right. Do not let them do it by themselves, like fully, and you step away until you feel like you fixed everything, because they will just resort back to how they were doing it if it makes them nervous. Then on the other side, they're going to straight jump and land, and then I want them to start finishing also. Really all you need to say is arms behind your eyeballs. Okay, so this would not be behind my eyeballs, and neither would this. So I just like to tell them hands behind the eyeballs, and they seem to catch on fairly quickly. For intermediate, they're going to do straight jump, then finish. So straight jump, arm swing in between, and then finish. And then on the other side, they're going to do kicks sideways. They can have their hands on their hips or out to the side, since they won't be using the stick, since they shouldn't have to. So they'll just kick out to the side. Okay, that'll teach them also, if their hands are on their hips, that they really can't move too much if they want to stay on the beam while they kick out to the side. Then for intermediate or advanced, they'll do handstands on one side, and then side handstand dismounts on the other. Okay, same thing, finishing them. Okay, back to, well, we'll do the small beam next, that's on the floor. So beginners will do forward rolls to stand. Their hands will need to go on the beam. They don't necessarily have to stand up one foot in front of the other if their feet can fit, but just trying to stand up. Intermediate will do cartwheels, and advanced will do back bend kickovers, or back walkovers. If they're going to back bend, they need to back bend and land with their hands as close together as they can. Most probably won't be able to, maybe, depending on how flexible they are, but as long as their fingers are touching it, it's totally fine. It's not like they need to have the skill or anything. Back up to the high beam. So on one side for beginner, they'll mount, passe walk halfway, and then instead of straight jumping down, they'll start one foot out in front, and they'll step down to land. Maybe that'll be a little easier for them to stay on their feet, is what I found. Then on the other side, they're gonna jump from 1 foot onto 2 feet over the red dot. So they can swing their arms if they want, but 1 foot starts up and then they land on 2 feet. You can encourage them to try on both feet if one side feels too easy. For intermediate, they will then mount. They're gonna have a spotted half handstand, so you're gonna spot up on the big beam this time underneath the panel mat instead of on the small beam like for intermediate. So they're gonna kick to half handstand, meaning their feet don't touch. Okay, so they may be very hesitant, so they may only get barely high off the beam, both feet, and that's totally fine. You're just there to help them get comfortable getting both feet off the beam right now and getting upside down. And then on the other side, they're going to leap over the red dot. Okay, so they're welcome to start 1 foot and then just end on that same foot. That's probably the best you're gonna get these 2 weeks, just because of how new it is for them, going 1 foot to the other. Have their hands on their hips, arms out to the side is gonna be too much for them to think about right now, and also do the leap the right way. Then for advanced, they'll do mount. They're going to tuck jump, pivot turn, and then dismount. So it's like a mini routine for them. So doing several things from several different areas before they dismount. So their mount also needs to be a part of that. Then on into the pit, so we're gonna do it on this side right here. There's not gonna be a beam that goes into the pit this time, just so we can kind of alternate with teams. So if they need to vault in the pit, or they need to use this side panel for stations and stuff like that. That way we're not in the way of the floor also. So I will try and alternate every time, just to make sure we're getting the stations on that side and on this side of the pit in for those kids. So for beginner, they're going to do cartwheel to side handstand attempts. Really, it's not going to be the best thing you've ever seen. It will be very around the side. But all they're going to do is just try and go for it. Okay, their belly needs to be facing the pit. Okay, so if you need to, before you start beam, go with everybody over there and figure out where they need to go and what side they need to be on. That way you don't have to take time from you spotting to come over here and help them figure out what side they need to be on. It'll take maybe 3 to 4 minutes for you to figure that out with all of them. So I highly encourage you figure it out beforehand. That way you're not stressed out going back and forth helping somebody though, and they should know what their favorite foot is. Then for intermediate, they'll do cartwheel to side handstand, but their feet will land first. Beginner, they don't have to land feet first. They can land on their belly. They probably will. They don't have to land feet together. They probably won't. But that's what they're going to do there. And then for advanced, they're going to kick to side handstand and then fall to their back. So instead of belly facing, they're going to have their back facing. So they're going to go to cartwheel side handstand. They're going to try and hold it, and they have to figure out their body position enough to then fall over to their back. That one you may have to come back and forth with to help them with, to make sure they're going over and they're not like in a banana. But that's all we have for beam.